just game on weekends. For any of you age 25 or older, that probably isn't something you've thought about for a long time. At least that's what it was like for me. This isn't a one-size-fits-all video. This is just something that I've experienced in my own life when it comes to gaming, and maybe there is something in my experience that can be valuable to you. By all means, play to your heart's content. I know not everyone's experience with games are the same, but I'm sure there are some similarities. Hopefully you can explore this thought with me, and I'll try my best to explain my experience in a way that's relevant to many of you. But let me set the scene first. It's a rainy Sunday afternoon in 2007. I was 10 years old and anxiously waiting for my dad to unlock the closet so I could get out my gaming system, the Nintendo 64. I would have 2 hours on that afternoon to play however many games I wanted, which usually consisted of a mix between Lego Racers, Star Fox, and Madden 99. I was only allowed to play video games for 2 hours every other Sunday, so I spent 4 hours a month trying to beat my racing game or beating the next boss in the Star Fox game. When the timer went off, I was bummed out. But a few moments later, I was excited. I would just have to wait 13 more days before I can beat the next Star Fox boss. It was even something I would mark on the family calendar. While a lot of this enthusiasm can be chalked up to childish priority and whimsical thinking, it was clearly something else. It was novelty. I wasn't able to play games every single day, at least not for the first few years of gaming. How many of you grew up only being able to play on the weekend? Or maybe you could only play video games when friends came over, or only maybe after you finished homework on a Friday. All of those examples have a layer of novelty built in. When I was 10 years old, I had a schedule set by my parents. School, sports, church, and other social events. Video games didn't take up that much of my time, and because of this novelty, I thoroughly looked forward to every other Sunday. I only had 5 or 6 games, and those were in the days of offline gaming. That didn't matter though. I would constantly replay these titles like the ones I mentioned a few moments ago. When was the last time you thoroughly looked forward to gaming beyond the after-work game session? A lot of people over the last 5 years, including myself, have expressed their frustrations with gaming in the modern era. If it's not microtransactions, it's the content itself. It's either too woke or not woke enough. All of those examples have been discussed at a tiresome degree, and I'll be the first to say that there is merit to those discussions, but all of those things are symptoms of greater issues. I want to establish a baseline. Video games for me in 2007 weren't something I played every day. It wasn't even a hobby at that point. It was just something fun to do. My interest in gaming didn't extend beyond the console I was playing on. There were no message boards I was a part of, and no Discord servers to talk about my favorite games. It was done with my friends down the street when the topic came up. It was just something I did. So when did it all change for me? When did I start playing games more than 4 hours a month? It was right around the time I got on YouTube in 2009. And it's no secret that YouTube and the rise of social media have a massive role in gaming's universal adoption. I'm not an internet historian, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but YouTube had a huge effect on my gaming interactions. In 2011, I got an Xbox 360, a PC I could game on, and a lot more time. High school was just right around the corner. The friends I had also had upgraded their systems, and with access to the internet, I found a whole new world. One where people played video games a lot more than I did. I remember looking up how to get better at Halo Reach multiplayer, and slowly spending more time on my Xbox. I met people just like me who wanted to play Halo and improve. Then I started making YouTube videos when I eventually switched to PC gaming full-time in late 2011. I got really into the MMORPG genre. This is one of my best times of my young life. I met even more people who shared a passion for gaming that I was just beginning to experience. One of the things I didn't know about MMOs at the time was the idea that the game really never ended. I was amazed that I was in a world where I could make my own character and immerse myself in any world I was a part of. To this day, I fondly look back on my favorite MMO. It was where I met a lot of people that would become pillars in my life, and some still are to this day.
Good job, you guys.
Yeah, that was freaking awesome.
There's always going to be people who dismiss these kinds of online relationships as fake or less than, but anyone who has had one of these experiences would know that the opposite is true. Because of these people and their relationships that I had cultivated, I found myself playing every single day. My parents gradually got less restrictive, and eventually it was just a part of my life, the daily grind of dungeons. Even when I branched out and played other games like shooters, I was still playing every day because I was meeting more people. I was either competing for cash prizes or just going up against friends. All of a sudden, I was a gamer. It wasn't merely a title for me. It was my whole identity. I think a lot of us can say that at one point or another, this was the first thing we put in our Twitter or Facebook bio. The years 2009 through 2016 were some of my favorite gaming years. It wasn't just because of the online component, it was the interactions I had had with my friends outside of the game, from having LAN parties for Halo or just playing split-screen Need for Speed. These are gaming experiences I'll never forget. We all remember the midnight releases at GameStop. The social element of gaming was different back then, and I can't quite explain it, it just had a magic to it. In 2015, I started making gaming content on YouTube, and that's when gaming became a little bit more than a hobby. It became something I wanted to share with others online and not just have for myself. This isn't a bad thing, I just wanted to point out my reasons for playing video games gradually shifted as the years went on. YouTube 10 years ago was wildly different. The algorithm didn't have a chokehold on people like it does today. You really could broadcast yourself. You could share your hobby or passion, even with terrible video quality, pacing, and delivery. It didn't matter. People loved watching it. It was really cool coming together as a community through YouTube. I didn't know it at the time, but I was hooked. I wanted to gain tons of subscribers and get into the partner program, which I eventually did, and that made me dig into gaming even more. I understand that for some of you, the YouTube stardom dream was never a key component, but that's what supercharged and propelled me to this theory. Up until about late 2023, I was making content every few days. I was live streaming and wanting to make videos as much as possible so I could grow the channel. But since 2021 really, I started to lose interest in gaming, and I couldn't figure out why. At first, I had bought into the rage bait that video games are for kids and I shouldn't be doing that. I should be touching grass or doing other things. Insert whatever mainstream argument against video games here. But for a while, I needed something to justify my growing disinterest in gaming. I've mentioned my journey with removing myself from social media in previous videos, so I won't get into detail in here. But in short, over the last 4 years, I've gradually deleted my social media accounts. This didn't have so much to do with video games as it did with me being tired of all the hyper-connectivity. The moment I deleted the social media accounts, the more I started to enjoy gaming as a whole. We are now more connected than ever before, not just to others around us, but in gaming. Every minor patch update, every controversy, every expansion, it's all discussed and litigated on the internet now. Everyone has a voice, everyone has a say, and it can be really noisy. Remember when you'd see a game in a store and just buy it? It was something that interested you. Now there's all sorts of before you buy or is it worth playing in 2020X video, and I've made these types of videos myself, and I'm not coming after the people who make these videos. I understand that there's a place for them, especially in a world where every game being multiplayer and always online is mainly what people play. But even still, none of those things should matter. When my parents got me Lego Indiana Jones for the Wii, I didn't care what YouTubers said. I didn't care what the consensus on the game was. And I'd make the argument that when you started your gaming journey, you didn't give a crap either. Why should you? Why don't you play something because you find it enjoyable or interesting? Sure, it can be helpful to go online and figure out how to beat a boss or help solve a puzzle, but I've noticed that gaming content these days centers more around reactions to changes and patches than any actual gaming interest. Like I said before, I understand that people have made careers out of making gaming content, so more power to them, go get the bag. There's clearly a market for that type of content. But in the last year, I've been getting really tired of gaming. I didn't want to log on every day just to do daily quests. I haven't purchased a season pass in a game in about 2 years, and I have no plans to in the future. That wasn't what gaming was about for me, and it probably wasn't what gaming was for most of you either. We could talk all day about the mass corporatization of video games. We've all watched the greed killed gaming or microtransactions must be stopped videos. While all of that is pretty much true across the board, those issues exist in other industries outside of gaming. The easiest way to take back control in this area, at least in my experience, is to just not spend money in-game. You don't need the battle pass, you can still progress through the game by getting better, if that's something that interests you. Nobody forces you to spend your hard-earned money on skins and pay-to-win aspects of games. You can make the argument that you have limited time, so buying some of these pay-to-win aspects can just make your life easier for the limited game time you have. My advice to you would probably just be, find a game that respects your time. Now, don't get me wrong, gaming was never a cheap hobby to get into, and it's even more expensive as the years go on. I realized in the last year that I don't want to play video games every single day. I was no longer interested in the way people are expected to play games today. I want to play games on my terms. I want to be excited to boot up a game. So I quit daily gaming. I quit buying in-game items. I play video games almost exclusively with my wife and a handful of friends. One of the greatest times I've had gaming in the last 5 years was playing NFL Street on the GameCube with some family members. Everyone sucked at it, but it was fun. It was social. Everyone was laughing and having a good time. It wasn't about the grind of ranks. It wasn't about the need to constantly improve at the game. It was just dumb fun. Like when I was a child, the novelty returned. Gaming is, at best, a hobby for me now. I no longer call myself a gamer. It's not that deep or profound. I just remembered what made video games fun to start with. So, are video games just bad now? Has it all been ruined by greed, outrage culture, and poor game design? Honestly, I would say yes and no. It's clear, no matter what personal beliefs you may have, that gaming has become more than just gaming to most people. Some see it as a way for activists to push agendas, and some see it as the clear decline in game quality in favor of profit. But so many people, including myself, have forgotten one thing. We change. I'll speak for myself. I have changed a lot. In fact, my whole life changed after I got married in 2021. I couldn't game every day. I couldn't put time into games like I used to. This isn't because my wife made me play video games less. I realized I just didn't want to play video games in the way that I used to. I didn't want to choose daily quests over spending time with her. Sometimes that time is spent playing games together, but oftentimes it's not. I get home and look at my computer, shrug my shoulders and say, not today. I'm not really missing out on anything by not playing. This isn't to say my life outside of games is a cakewalk. There are definitely a lot of difficult moments throughout life, and playing video games is a nice escape from that. But what about all the friends I've made online? I still reach out to the close ones every 6 months or so to catch up with them. Maybe it's a Discord call, or maybe it's a text. I check in, catch up for a little bit, and then it's back to living life. Video games can be a nice escape, a form of entertainment for myself. I guess I just realized that I don't want to be entertained all the time. So when the weekend rolls around and it's time to sink maybe 2 to 3 hours into Albion Online or Halo, I'm really excited to distract myself for a few hours. This is not a video meant to discourage you from playing games daily if it is something you enjoy. But if you log on as if your brain is on autopilot and not finding enjoyment in games like you used to anymore, might I suggest playing them a little bit less. It doesn't mean you aren't as passionate, maybe that does end up happening, but I think in the case of trying to make the best use of your leisure time, this could be a good option for you. We are all living some crazy, hard lives right now, and it's definitely necessary to find an escape from time to time. But you don't want to leave your 9-to-5 job only to get back home and get on your 5-to-9 job of daily quests, battle passes, and progression that disrespects your time and comes for your hard-earned dollars. I love gaming, and I will probably always be interested in them to a degree, but I have found that less is more, especially as you get older. So continue to love your games, but just try this as an experiment. Just game on weekends.